Doing well.
Okay. Yes, Mehul sir, we can start the session now and
Okay.
people will keep joining. I'm recording the session.
Yeah, sure. So, so you want to go ahead, start with a quick intro, background, etc., and then I can get started. Share my screen.
Yes. So anybody, Amandeep Kaur, you can start. And, I also want to like introduce Mehul sir to you. He has been, one second.
We expecting about 25, 30 of us, Harshita?
Yes, at least 20 to 25 people.
Okay, okay.
Because,
So should we then wait for 5 minutes so that everyone joins in, or most of them
sure,
join in?
sure, we can wait. Sure, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Hi, Amandeep. Nice to see you. I think you're on mute. Hi.
Thanks for the class. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming up for us.
Thank you so much. I can hear you now. Thanks. Sorry, I might just cough a bit in the middle of the conversation because I have a slightly bad cold. But yeah, pardon me for that.
Hi, Mehul. This is Chandani.
Hi,
Sorry,
Chan.
I can't be on video because I'm outside somewhere.
No
But
worries.
thank you so much for taking the class for us and hope you get well soon.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Nice to be catching up. Okay, Upasana looks like she's in the car.
Yeah, I just stayed back at my child's school. I said I'll just start
Okay,
with me that I don't get disconnected in the middle till I get back to my.
sure, sure. So all of us, Harshita, on this call are,
Yeah.
30 and above. I mean, I would have assumed that, everyone's, done their masters, kind of worked for 2, 3 years, or, are starting their own venture. Right?
Yes, most of them, have started their ventures except one,
Mhm.
Chandni ji.
Okay.
And I think one person only is, not has not done their masters. Rest everyone is, they are quite, I mean, they are above age and they have started their ventures. Is my voice audible?
Yeah, yeah, you were echoing a bit, but yeah.
Okay. So, okay, so just let me know when you want to start. We can start then.
No, I'm perfect, Harshita. We can start right away, because I think we've lost
Okay.
22 minutes, right? So go ahead with
Yes.
the intro. It's just that we don't have the group,
Okay.
right? We just have about
Yeah.
40%.
Right. So, first of all, I'll just, be thankful to Mehul sir to take out time for this session and enlighten um, all our incubatees, what they are doing to understand them and to, give them whatever piece of advice he has, whatever experience he has, and to build these women. So I just want to say that, Mehul sir is a thought leader and a speaker. He can really help you in that area. And he's an enthusiast of technology and digital transformation. So most of the women here are facing some kind of problems in digital area as well, mostly digital marketing or something like that. And uh, he is a sustainability advocate as well. So, the people who are working in the sustainability sector can also definitely benefit from this sector. And Mehul sir, if you want to add anything to, your intro, you are most welcome so that they also get to know you better.
Okay, probably just one, two lines. So on the professional front, yeah, close to about 16 years of experience. I've largely been on the services side. So, currently with Accenture, prior to which I was with Wipro, WNS, Tech Mahindra, right, Franklin Templeton, and Gati Limited, which is a logistics player. And then last but not the least was Kantar or IMRB, right, which is a market research company. Uh, I come from a family business background, so I can completely relate to it. As in, if we want to start small, grow big, what are the real problems that we face? Yeah, and on the personal front, I'm, blessed with two twin daughters. So they are, 3.5 years old. So apart from everything that goes on the work front in, life, I would say there's really no time for anything else because whatever time I get, kind of focus on playing with my daughters. Yeah, so that's the short intro.
That's great actually to hear. So, so do you want to go around the room and just everyone to briefly, in one or two lines, they can explain what their venture is about?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
If you want to start talking, go ahead.
Anybody can start, please.
Can I go ahead, please?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Hi, I'm Upasna Mittal and I am an entrepreneur. I have my venture Grihani Venture LLP by the brand name Ghar Ki Rasoi. So it's all about empowering women. We are an aggregator portal where we offer for home delivery um, food and we cater to just like Zomato and Swiggy. We are helping women who are cooking food at home and they want to go ahead and up as a business, and they can list their articles on our website, and we help them go to the market and get their dishes out there. And that's a small initiative by us to kind of support them and bring home and voice in the background.
Everyone else, please, can you just mute yourself? Vanita ji? Yeah.
And we are at a prototype stage wherein we are at the stage of go to market, but I'm looking out for I've already got an invitation from IIM Kashipur for a seed fund, but we are still right here, rightly said by Harshita, that everyone has a digital hitch that is there wherein we want to go to the market, but there are a lot of questions and stuff like that happening. So that's the background about my venture right now.
Great, amazing.
Thank
All the very best.
Thank you.
Hopefully, I can answer some things for you today. Okay,
Anybody
next.
next?
Yeah, hi,
Chandni, please.
Chandni here. So as Harshita has already told you, I am still the baby of the group from the venture perspective, not otherwise. I have a background of about 30 years of experience, which out of which 19 has been in the corporate sector, and the rest of it has been as a freelancer. This is not a venture for me actually. What I am embarking on is more of a journey and to keep the dream of my husband alive. Um, that was something that we discussed a lot, and I lost him suddenly a little while back. And so, yes, I've taken it upon myself to fulfill that dream and ensure that I open that restaurant and it's remarkably successful because both of us loved food, and so that's the dream. And I
More and
hope to
more
make
power
that
to you,
possible.
Chandni. What you're doing is absolutely commendable, right? And with 30 years of experience, I'm sure I will learn something from you today on the call as well. Yeah, more power to you. And please take care, stay strong is all I can say.
Absolutely. Today would have been 27 years of our marriage. Unfortunately, don't have him around.
Please take care. We're all there. You have the virtual world for sure. So yeah,
Yeah,
please take.
absolutely. I mean, this particular cohort has been, this Womennovator has been a blessing for me, and I plan to take complete advantage of it. Thank you
Thank
again, Mehul.
you so much for your time. Thanks. Okay.
Please, anybody can go next. We are short on time, so quickly in just 1 or 2 lines, we can wrap it up.
Okay. So
Hello,
I'm
Mehul. Shall I start?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
Amandeep. I was in the teaching profession for the last 20 years. Last year, during the COVID, I decided to join my husband's business. We are having the leather, we are the manufacturers of leather accessories, leather belts, laptop bags, etc. We are the manufacturers for that for the last 25 years.
Mhm.
But I was not involved in the business. For the last 1 year, I have initiated this process that I will make a baby project under that flagship of going digital. We were
Okay.
doing offline and we don't have any knowledge of technical know-how, any digital knowledge, but I have decided to take it digitally.
Hmm.
So I have registered it on Amazon, Flipkart, etc. For the last 1 year, we are doing that. But still, I am facing many hitches because of the lack of the knowledge.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
can't trust my team completely because if they are doing, I don't have the knowledge that whatever they are doing, it's not up to mark. That is not satisfying me.
Okay. Okay. Understood.
So
No, but I
I'm
think you've taken the right first step. Going with Flipkart and Amazon, it is on the right track to, get you more business for sure, right? So yeah, how you make the, back of it is, or rather, I can say, how do you orchestrate your, business, so that you can get the maximum out of the e-com channels, but still maintain your margins. I think, that's the key, and still grow.
yeah, yes, still. Thank you.
Dr. Vanita, sure. Thanks, Amandeep. Yeah, Dr. Vanita, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm Dr. Vanita. I am working on creating a microbial consortia which can convert any waste material into biogas. So I'm working into the new renewable energy sector, and this product is totally an innovative product, involved a lot of biotech stuff. So we could able to do this process patent, which has been granted to us as company. So now we are 5-year-old company. So we have done POC previously, and at this stage, what we have is we had validated this in with various waste material. Means client validations is there. We have early traction, and we are scaling up. So there are a lot of global inquiries which are coming. So we want to expand our business across globe within next 2 years. So that is the stage where we are, and we need to see that how this technology innovation can be scaled up. So we are at TRL 9. So I am looking the business in that aspect. That is the scaling stage of the business.
Okay, amazing. Sure. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Huda Nazir, if I'm saying it correctly.
Yes, sir. My name
Yeah.
is Huda. I'm 19 years old from Amroha, pursuing BBA. Along with my
Okay.
studies, I'm running my small business, Craft Lover 24, which deals in handmade gifts, personalized gifts, corporate gifts, wedding stuffs, and many more. The main problem I'm facing is to capture my target market, and along with Womennovator, through Womennovator, I'm expecting the and hoping for the best for my business.
Okay. Yeah. No, thanks so much for that, Huda, and best wishes to you, right? 19-year-old, but still doing a business. I mean, I didn't have the courage to do it at age of 19 years. Something to set up of my own, right? I've looked at my father's business, but yeah, kudos to you and more power to you. Sure, we'll get something to you today.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Should we get started?
Yes,
Do we still
yes,
have
I
more?
think, yeah, we can start it. I mean, you have prepared the PPT, so we can start with that now.
Okay.
Good morning, sir.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I'm not able to switch on my camera. This is Aarti here, Aarti
Aarti, right?
Padmanabhan.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi. So I'm founder of Padma Yoga Academy, which is a training center in yoga, health, and wellness. So we're based out of Bangalore, and we just started a few years back, a couple of years back. And before that, I was basically, into teaching in different yoga centers and studios and fitness places. So this thought of providing service to the community all started because my dad also is into yoga, and we wanted to spread that awareness about health and wellness. And now, being a sole proprietorship of this firm, I would like to take it forward in terms of establishing some kind of uniqueness in terms of health, and that's what I'm trying to identify here in these markets. So we're trying to go both online, offline practices. So now that everybody is, connected through internet and technology, would like to explore it through crossing the borders also, and giving this benefit to everyone around the world. So, looking forward for more advice and tips from you and sir.
Thank you so much, Aarti. I am sure you are in the best business right now because I mean, mental wellness, health, and wellness, it's growing at least twice the rate of a food business, right? Which we all think is very lucrative. And you
Right.
already have the Wake Fit, Cure Fit, Cult Fits, of the world,
Yes.
kind of. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Amazing. You are in the best business right now, is what I can tell you. Sure. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wants to go ahead? Or I'm hoping we can see my screen, right? I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, yes, we can see. So now I think Mehul, we can start with the PPT, and rest of the people, if they have any questions, they can directly ask, right? Or later they can ask once you finish with that, right?
Yeah, I know. So I will also have to crunch all my messages, considering we've lost about 30 minutes, right? So I'll just and there are about 20 slides, but I'll try and give you just two messages, and we can keep the last 15 minutes, for all question and answers, anything and everything that you want to, right? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, let me start off again by, thanking, Womennovator, Harshita, Tripti ma'am, and you, every one of you, right, who's chosen to give in time for this. Thank you once again, and, privileged to be talking to you guys. Okay. Sustainable business planning, right? I think, it's a concoction or a mixture of multiple elements, and, what are those? We'll cover that, right? Uh, I want to take you through a framework today. Sustainable, business plan is also being economic and being sustainable at the same time. And how can you do both of those? Is what we'll see today, right? I actually had a quiz for you guys, and we'll see how time permits, right? Otherwise, I can kind of send it to you, but we'll at least do 10 minutes of it. Uh, then I know given Accenture, Wipro, TCS, etc. All these services side, right? How is it actually coming along right now? And what's the way forward that we see? Yeah. Okay. I think the framework is very important. Be it every business that you take in health, wellness, I can say food business, or leather manufacturing, bags manufacturing, etc. Right? And I'm trying to keep the messages slightly generic. Message number one on this slide is, please keep the customer at the center of everything that you do, right? Because if you don't keep the customer in focus and try and grow your business, I think it's bound to have loopholes, right? Now, sustainable business model for me is a function of two things. Okay, A is economical, which is the so-called brown and the light brown circle that you see, and it also is sustainable, right? Now, sustainable is not only green, but it has to be pretty robust, right? And I'll just give you some examples. The blue row, that you see is the SWOT and the pestle, right? Every business you start in will have strength, weakness, opportunities, threats. I'm sure everyone in our, MBA, whoever has, kind of come across will, resonate with this. And then there's a pestle, right? Which is a political, economical, socio-technological, legal analysis, right? That and everything regulatory, so everything that we do is still governed by rules and regulations, right? So the black circle and the so-called blue horizontal line sits at the crust of the, or the center of everything, right? When you talk about a business model, it has to be unique. It has to be scalable, scalable in a sense. Today you're doing it, right? But can you still do it, and you can grow it, let's say 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line? Is your business profitable? because I think this is a lot of mistake that we all make, right? And I'm not taking names, but if you see the leading ed tech providers, right? I'm sure you can guess whom I'm talking about. you know uh, Having a business with a turnover of thousands of crores, but still be negative and be a loss making, or even the payments transaction, right? Platform that you currently have, whose stock has been battered. I think again you can guess that name, right? I'm not saying it. But that sort of a model is not what you should take, is my suggestion, right? Because the street will not respect you, let's say 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line, right? Your business needs to have a value, which is your shareholders and stakeholders should see the value in what you're doing, right? And in my view, it has to be a pull model. Let the customer demand and the market demand take what you have, rather than you trying to push and sell through, right? So that's the two circles of economic for me. Sustainable is lot about ESGS. Everyone is talking about it today. Environmental, social, governance, and sustainability is what is ESGS. I think you should also consider the impact you are having on your environment, you are having on these social circles, right? And you should also look at efficiency here, right? Now, what is the so-called triangle or the sustainable development goals? The United Nations, today talks about 17 sustainable goals. I'll quickly go to that. But, basically, if you see, there is a people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership, right? And, at least I have been pitching this in all my conversations. Every business that you talk about has to have a PPT framework, not the PowerPoint framework, but the P is for people, P is for process, and the T is for technology, right? So that is what is PPT, the brown and the light brown triangle that you see, right? Your people is something which will give you the largest pushback, right? So for example, I think Amandeep, you spoke about your leather business, right? I think someone else saying you are not happy in a way the way your employees are doing it today, right? And while you have tied up with Amazon, right? So I think your people need to resonate with you, right? And you need to carry people along. That's the biggest challenge. You need to have a sound process or operations, right? Now, I come from an consulting in an operations background, but trust me, until unless you say that, hey, what is the? I'm just giving you an example, right? So, for example, Aarti, what is the process that I should follow? Let's say, to set up a quick, yoga class, right? I'm just giving a very, very basic example. Point one, customer logs into a mobile app, or customer logs into a website, right? The customer generates a unique ID password, either offline or online, right? And then you basically download an app, if it is again online, right? The customer logs on with a user ID password, right? He kind of sees and he schedules himself with a proposed couple of slots for yoga, right? Then the app should show availability, saying, hey, your selected slots are available or are not available today, right? And so on and so forth. So what I'm kind of trying to tell you is a simple sequence of steps which we typically call a process, that has to be very robust, right? For you to have a large scale business. You're not looking at just 1 year, 2 year, 3 years of business, right? You're looking at a long. uh, After your processes are stabilized, and once you have a uniformity in your process, is when you can go and transform, right? All fancy things that you talk about, RPA, automation, artificial intelligence, applied intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, all the buzzwords that you think, I think will come slightly later. But let's have the people and the process bit in place first. Yeah, so that's the message that I want to give you. uh, Again, I'll not go through this slide, but how do you look at the economical bit of it, right? I think for small businesses like us, until unless we grow, become a sort of a organization, let's say of $1 billion, I think the cost versus time to deploy is a circle that you typically have to look at, right, on a XY matrix. Your business criticality versus ROI is what you should definitely map. and your uniqueness of the business, with how much of efforts you are putting it, right? See, it's like a banya, and banya is, just not to be taken negatively, but at the end of the day, all that I'm doing, am I getting something out of it? Because I'm sure, we all don't want to be in a charitable business, right? It has to sustain value for you, for your stakeholders, etc., and for the customers as well, right? Uh, and is the ROI, right? I mean, the customer, for example, you are sitting in a very good business, right? Aarti, yoga, health and wellness, the customer demand is huge, right? But you should really say, hey, am I having the ROI, which is the return on investment, right? So if you build a, app, if you build a website, if you, let's say, investing in physical classes, right? 2 locations, 5 locations, 10 locations, 20 locations across India, is there a ROI of, considering your rentals, your down payments, etc., and is there, a positive or a number, or a revenue number that you can draw at the end of the month, right? From each of those, let's say, 20 physical locations. Yeah. Very important. Yeah. uh, and I think, the we've all read this in, Kotler. You're looking at a typical cycle of entering the market, right, and then growing it. You kind of, mature a business, right, and it will all have a decline phase. But what is very important is to have a reload phase. Something that, I don't think Kotler today talks about. But yeah, you should have a reload phase. As in, if you're at the bottom of your business, right, how do you again, take it up? There has to be some USP, a unique selling proposition, or some unique value, that your business should get, right? The other point I kind of wanted to make on this slide is, typically, see, if your ROI extent, ROI is return on investment, right, across a certain period of time, and if I compare that with the business complexity, right, anything that which gives you a high ROI but is a low complex, business model, or to a medium complex model, the blue so-called oval and the green, rectangle that you see, is still what you should consider for your business, right? If you're typically looking at a negative ROI, plus you have a very, complex business, right? I think you should avoid those, businesses, right? That's my, fair recommendation there. Yeah. Um, and ROI is not just 1 year, I think, and I'll, go to the next slide and, give you the message there. But I think, at least look at, 5 years of a business. Don't exit if you aim to, let's say, start today, scale it up, sell it to someone, and even if you want to exit the business, right, at least look at a 5 to 8 year horizon, if you were to do that. Yeah. Okay. What is this whole sustainable business model? I think it has to be economical. It also, has to be, a growth related business, a profitable business, right? And, you also have to be, value creating at the same time, right? Uh, there's typically 3 E's that we talk about: effectiveness, efficiency, and experience, right? Now, and this is what is the framework that I think, should have, right? I'm sure every one of us has, read so many things on the internet, but it all starts with the customer, right? Number one, and the customer should have, let's say, on time, in full delivery. I mean, the mapping to your business, right? Leather goods, bags, jackets, whatever you're manufacturing, right? Everything that the customer asks for has to be, on time, 100 quantities, 100 delivery, on time, which is on time, and then, in a good condition, right, in full, nothing, should get damaged, right? A very simple example of on time, in full. Yeah. A first pass yield is basically, transacting the process right, the very first time, so that you don't have any rework, right? Now, what am I calling out here on this slide? If you see the 3 colors on your right, there is efficiency, effectiveness, experience. That's the 3 colors. What I'm simply trying to tell you is, you have to have a framework which is focused on customer, your investors, your employees, your marketplace, right? Your promoters and the founders. Last but not the least is the environment, right? And the blue, purple, greens that you typically see, are the KPIs, or the key performance indicators, or SLAs as we call it, the service level agreements, right? I mean, how do you measure your business? Again, my point number two, the conversation today. Please do not have a business, without any KPIs or SLAs, right? You need to have a revenue, you need to have a profitability, and you need to have much more than that, right? At the end of the day, are you able to measure against, your goals that you've set? I think is very, very critical. If you do not have this, your first place is to plan for a business with the SLAs or KPIs. Yeah. So that it becomes very specific and you can measure how you are doing against your goal set, right? Because then it's like leading into a no man's land, right? Which you don't want. Yeah. Now, for example, if you're a promoter and a founder, right? Arti, again, to you, and Amandeep, I think, again to you, right? And I think Huda, this applies to you also. Everyone who's, basically starting a business, right? What is the ROI? I mean, you're slogging in so much, you're taking in pains, you have the, you're taking the, efforts of sleepless nights, etc. What is it at the end of the day? How do you measure return on investment of all the efforts? Obviously, which are qualitative, you can't measure those, but obviously the investments also that you pump in. Right? Is there a market share, in the business, that you are capturing, right? If yes, is that increasing? It's very important that you increase, right? And how growth oriented are you? I mean, do you want to look at 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x, which is, 10 times, the market growth in the segment that you're operating, right? So for a promoter or a founder like you, this becomes very important, right? That's just another metric to measure. Yeah. Uh, the competition is also very important. Most of us, don't talk about competition, but what you are doing today, there are probably hundreds, thousands of a competitor in a medium business like ours, right? But I think, the street or the competition, will have many queries, as to what are you doing? How differently are you doing? Why do you say I'm, let's say, a number one or a number two in this segment, right? And more importantly, either a product or a service or a manufacturing, or even though, in a teaching profession, right? What is the rate of innovation that you have? Because your newness or your uniqueness or your innovation is, what kind of separates you from the others, right? So I think, that's the message I'll give it to you on this slide. Uh, if you were to, ask high level call outs, from my experience, I think we spoke about this. If you want to grow a business model, at least, please look at 10 years of being in that business, and at least 8 years if you want to start today, build, sell it to someone, make money and move out of it, right? Because growth will not happen overnight or success will not happen overnight, right? I think we spoke about the second one. Please have metrics to measure your business, right? And always please follow the PPT framework, which is the people, process, technology, because all three are important. If you kind of at least falter on one, I think the business is likely to struggle, right? So everything of a PPT should come together, right? The other important call out is standardize. Arti, the way you operate, let's say a yoga or a fitness center today in a Bangalore will be slightly different from, let's say, a Mumbai, or let's say a Kolkata, but it can't be 100% different, right? The way, Amandeep, you kind of sell online on Amazon, Flipkart, cannot be different if, let's say, collaborate with, let's say, India Mart, right? Or let's say with a Nika. It can't be 100% different. What is recommended is to at least have a 60 to 70, ideally 70 to 80% of standardized process in whatever businesses you guys operate in. Yeah. uh, be global, but think and act very local, because your local or your customization is something that will fetch you more, right? And one very key takeout, and I'm a Gujarati, right? Business comes naturally to some of us, but at the end of the day, please be very strong in whatever you purchase, right? So I'm sure Huda, you will appreciate if you have to sell something for 10 rupees, you'll typically try and procure it for at least 4 5 rupees, so that you are covered with at least a 20 30% margin, right? And still spend about 2 3 rupees at a overhead, right? So you're at least looking at 20 to 30 to 40% margins in whatever you guys are doing, right? So your purchasing or your procurement has to be really really, really very strong. If it means have 3 vendors, 5 vendors, 10 vendors, 20 vendors, or negotiate properly with the vendors, please do that, because it's hitting your bottom line or profitability, right? Your front office and back office are equally very important. What is a front office? Your sales, your marketing, right? What is a back office? Your finance and accounting, your HR, your legal, right? Those are some of the back office. But when you're growing a business and when you look at a business in totality, I think everything is important, right? So don't neglect, let's say, your HR function and a procurement function completely and only focus on sales and marketing, right? or probably just not focus on finance and accounting. I mean, a wrong way to do business, right? So that's what I can tell you on this slide. Okay, not go through this, but I can probably share this, or if you guys want to just take a screenshot, happy to do that. I think if you're talking about sales transformation, there is so much, right? You're talking about merchandising, you're talking about how to execute your sales, how to plan your sales, how to do a pricing and a promotion to it, right? How to do social media marketing, how to do order management, right? Because your media marketing has to match the rate at which you're producing goods, right? So that your orders are there and you guys don't have stockouts. Customer is asking for 10 quantity, but you don't have, let's say, more than 5, right? Then that's an inefficient demand planning, right? Last but not the least is the data and insights. So again, one unique message on this slide. Please consider a very targeted operating model in terms of how will you operate, who your customers are, who your stakeholders are, the whole that circle that we saw. Your business process design has to be robust. There's no doubt about it, no second thoughts about it. Focus on how the customer is buying, right? Be it a handicraft business, be it leather goods, be it a hotel business, food business, whatever, right? See how your customers are buying, because if you map that very correctly, you will be able to design how to sell effectively, right? uh, just some key and okay, one unique thing that sits at all of this, right? Please have the right amount of data and insights, because if you set, let's say, 10 targets for your business, right? But if you can't have any data or insight, which will give you, okay, what's happening in my procurement, what's happening in my HR, what's happening in my finance, legal, I mean, those all 7, 8, 10 functions need to come together, and for that you need a right amount of a data tool or a visibility tool, right? All fancy analytics that you're talking about should basically enable you make informed business decision. How to price, what margins to look at, how to sell to the customer, am I looking at key profitability ratios, etc., right? So your data insights again sits at the core of everything. Yeah. Just some examples of KPIs, right? And on how to measure, let's say, a sales function. Are you getting a revenue upliftment as in a increase of 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever you set for yourself, right? Is the customer wallet share improved, as in the customer you're targeting for a 10 rupees of business, has that, let's say, gone to 15, 20? Has the propensity or the likeliness of the customer increased to spend on your product or a service, right? That's very important. Is your process very efficient? Let's say the way you're running business today, 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, and 10 years down the line, right? Customer satisfaction scores, very important. Whatever business you are in, services, manufacturing, retail, etc., right? Is your customer happy with you? No, because if your customer is not happy with you, the chances are that you will not cross sell or upsell, right? Customer or revenue leakage, again, very important. That data can tell you, out of your, let's say, 100 customers, 20 customers, 50 customers, right? Are you losing 5, 10, 15 customers every year, or you're just losing, let's say, 1, 2 customers, right? Because a customer loss or a customer churn is basically a revenue loss for you. Yeah. So that's the message I kind of want to give you on this slide. Okay, this is slightly heavy text, but just breeze through. When we talk about ESGs, right? So we've shifted from the economical to sustainable, right? In that circular framework, there is a lot of considerations when you talk of environment, social governance and sustainable, right? And I'll probably skip through this, yeah, but just tell you what is very important, right? You should focus on environment, the social governance and the sustainable bit of it, right? Just one example, environmental. Are you emitting a lot of carbon or toxic gases into the atmosphere, with whatever you are doing? If yes, you can actually, try and rejig your machineries, the way you operate, etc., to emit less amount of gases into the atmosphere, right? And believe me, this is $1 million opportunity. Huh? It's not a small opportunity. Because what we are saying, and I've been a part of a company called Water Health International, right? They had this thing. They basically take a raw water from a lake or a pond, they purify that water and give it to the customer in a Bisleri, sort of a bottled water, right? The 20-liter can or a 25-liter can that you see. When I did that business model for them, we looked at about $20 million USD of revenues, right, in just 4 years. Because what we said, hey, I am, let's say, emitting X number of gases or X number of tons of, output or emissions in the atmosphere. With an improved machinery, with a new ways of working, I am, let's say, reducing those emissions by 50%. If you have such a model, you can register with the United Nations federations, for climate change. They call it the UNFCCC, and you can actually register your business model. It's like, getting a patent, right? So you submit your idea, you say how much of improvement you are making YOY, and they actually pay you, right? For the, let's say, carbon credits or emissions or greenhouse gases, that you're efficiently able to materialize or reduce. Yeah. So that's a good example of environment. I'll probably skip through, but yeah, I just thought I'll give you an example of how you can make your business more efficient, right? Okay. Quick check on some of the facts, right? I have a quiz for you guys, just to kind of engage you. See if you want to. We can see my screen, correct?
Yeah, Mehul, you can just increase the zoom. You can zoom in a little bit so that they can see.
Is it okay now? I made it to 150%.
Yes, that I think is fine. Everyone can see the screen, right? It's readable, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, yes,
readable.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So let's just take about 10 minutes, just high level, guesses. I know, we don't have time for a detailed quiz, but I'll just, show you those with options of A, B, C, D, right? Just let's quickly do this in 10 minutes. Just randomly or, take some guesses and, put some answers to, wherever, whatever writing pads you are on, right? We'll quickly move through this. First five questions, just read, write some answers to it. What you think is correct.
Do we have to say them out, or just like write them as
No,
of
no,
now?
no. Just write it on your pen, paper, wherever you're writing it, right? I mean, one, for example, you might write B, two, just say let's A, and I'll share that, key with you, right? That's on the slide. Done with the top five?
No, no. Just a minute. Done, done.
Okay. Let's go to 6, 7, 8 quickly. Just take
Not done,
some.
sir. Not
Questions.
done. Fifth one I was reading. Sir, please go to fifth. What do you think?
Done till 8?
Yes,
Guys, please respond. Yes.
done.
Not done, sir. Seventh. I'm on seventh. Rest of them have done or not, I don't know. Maybe I am little slow.
No worries, no worries. Done till 8?
Yes.
Here's 9, 10, and 11 for you.
Mehul can't see the. Okay. So, thank you.
Done till 12?
Yes.
No,
Just 12th. I want to do 12th.
Yeah.
you can go back 11.
Okay, 11th is not done. So the quiz is, focused slightly on the, sustainable bit of it, because the growth bit of it, I think, is heavily covered by, the marketing, and the Philip Kotlers of the world, right? But I kind of, still thought I'll give you very key messages there. Everyone done till 13th?
Yes.
Okay. Should I go next?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, you guys will ask me a fundamental question, right? I mean, why are we, doing a quiz on, let's say, the ESGS bit of it? Because trust me, organic growth is all there, right? We are looking at, 2%, 5%, 8%, and 15% growth every year. But if you were to look at next, the leg of growth, I think this is where the growth is right now. And that's the reason, just to make you more aware, of your surroundings, where are we heading towards, is, the reason of, this particular quiz thing. SDGs are Sustainable Development Goals, by the way.
You can go to 17th question.
Software as in software, the how can I tell you, the tallies of the world, etc. Or your, even for example, the Microsoft suite, right? That's a software. ESG is your yeah, that we just defined, right? Environmental, sustainable, and the governance. Everyone done with 20?
Yes.
Let's quickly do this. I'll pop this up, just of whatever answers you've written down, right? Just see how many of you guys, got this. If there's anyone who's got 11, and more, you're absolutely on the right track, as in you're an initiator or you're an early adopter of this particular, business wave, right? You might just want to check your scores. And let me know if there's anyone with 10 plus.
I am on 14.
Oh wow. Amandeep, is that you?
No, Dr. Vanita.
Oh, amazing.
Maybe I am into this sector, that's why.
Yeah, then you'll resonate with this better. But yeah, 14 is a very good score, trust me. Anyone else with 10 plus?
I'm at
Six.
10.
Sorry, who's at 10?
I'm at six.
Tani.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so if you haven't heard about this, or even if you are, slightly there, 10 and above is the right wave, right? You still have a lot of way to go, but I think you're pretty much there. Yeah, that's the message. Okay, I will skip through in this interest of time, but again, just one, two key messages, right? Why are we talking about what is important and why did you do a quiz on it today? So only 50% of organizations today believe that they are performing effectively against all environment metrics, right? The center oval, that you're seeing. Yeah. 88% of your customers will be more loyal to a company that supports a social or a environmental issue, which is why if you see the fruities, the pepsis, the appy fizzes that you're taking today, instead of a plastic straw you have a paper straw, right? Or your even your fruities or Parle Agro, that gets you the fruity, right? So that's one kind of change which the customers have responded to in a very good way, right? And they're just becoming more loyal, as in purchase more of it, and that's your revenue size, right? So just two statistics I thought I will kind of give it to you. And the third is that 76% of consumers sorry, today say that they'll stop buying from companies that treat the environment, employees, or community poorly, right? Just an indication of why should you go there or take this route, right? So two, three key messages there. Okay, again, not going all of this in a detail, but HDFC is aiming to be carbon neutral, as in, nothing released into the atmosphere by 31, 32, right? Reliance, with so many of its refineries, manufacturing facilities, has a 2035 target of being carbon neutral or a net zero, right? And as the industry calls it, yeah. Uh, in fact, Reliance is transferring its gasification assets to a wholly unit, right? So basically, they're saying, it will help us, produce hydrogen and establish a hydrogen ecosystem, rather than a methane ecosystem, right? Uh, Look at this. The JSW Neo Energy, right? The green business is expected to contribute to more than 62% of its earnings, before EBITDA, right? Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, right? Uh, Look at this. From January 21 to November 22, I know we're sitting on 2nd December today, about 180 companies have, shown their support, right? So if you pick a list of random, Fortune 500 companies, right? I'm sure, these are some of the Fortune 500, not all, but yeah, you have so many, getting into this, right? Uh, Similarly, that straw example that I gave you, that you have in your fruities and appies today. Look at this, right? Walmart is keying on packaging, through their zero waste initiative, right? Pushing for less packaging, through their supply chain, and far more of that, to be from a recycled or a reused material, right? That saves so much on the cost. Yeah, you being so much friendly, to the environment, right? Yeah. So that's just some bit of examples there. Okay. Uh, I know we talked about sustainable development goals. The highest priority today is for gender equality, which is where you see highest number of, male female representation. Now everyone's pushing it for it, right? At least 40-60, if not a 50-50, right? At a workplace, at a board, in the organization, etc. Right? And if you're doing your own businesses and you scale it up, let's say 2-3 years down the line, is what should you kind of look at, right? uh, Decent work and economic growth. I think the biggest thing that you should talk about is again those ROI 2x 3x market leading growth that you want to sustain, right? uh, responsible production or efficient, production will basically help you enable a better bottom line, right? So these are the highest priority areas today. The second priority is where the Aarti, the model that Aarti has, right, which is your yoga, health, and wellness, etc. Kind of comes in, right. And then you have a clean water and sanitation, the water health example that I kind of gave to you about, and everyone's today talking about solar, right. So that's affordable and clean energy. Yeah. What this will can it just be back in a minute. Okay. Yeah, so I'll kind of, that's the key messages on this slide. I will, keep the last 10 minutes, because for question and answers. So you'll have to give me 6 minutes more and I'll finish it with this, right? Uh, the key message on this slide, I think the business is huge, right? People are talking about billions, millions, and trillions of dollars, right? And the growth is just huge, at least from the sustainability standpoint, right? Okay, I think I'll spend 2 minutes here. If you see on this graph, right, there are three graphs on this slide. Europe is leading the pack in terms of where the business is happening more or the most, right? Because this refers to a conviction and acceptance, right? They're doing it with confidence, right? So the two blues that you see under Europe are the highest in terms of a summation compared to North America and Asia Pacific, right? So that's number one message. Greenwashing is the highest, right, in North America, because you see about 63 and 57 compared to the next businesses, right? Now what is a greenwashing? You mind wash someone saying same thing 20 different times. The greenwashing is basically a brainwashing on the green wave or the sustainability wave, right? So that's greenwashing for you. It's most prevalent in North America. And E of that ESG, right, is being accorded as the highest focus today, right? Now, what is that ESG? The environmental, social, and the governance, right, of the ESG is giving the highest focus. Yeah. Okay. Just a quick snapshot. How are the service providers, kind of, standing today? So this is a HFS. It's like a Gartner or a Forrester, if you've heard of, right? They're kind of ranking service providers who are actually practicing sustainability or sustainable business goals or development goals, right? In this particular order. So this is a if you guys can just note it down, you can see this. This is a publicly available report, not the whole report, but this image is publicly available, right? It is called the HFS Report on Sustainability Services, August 2022, and you'll be able to see that this particular image on that website, right? So every major services company or a technology company that you're talking about is pretty much there on the list, right? And then they just have a rank. By execution, by innovation. So all the columns have a different unit or a ranking, right? ERM, I think, is making big strides. It's called the enterprise risk management. It is again more of a authority like a Gartner Forrester. They're practicing this and their home turf, and they're doing amazing things in terms of sustainability, right? Which is why HFS is rating a sort of a ERM above EY, right, or a IBM, right? From a service provider standpoint, right? Uh, and yeah, I mean that's the message, right? We'll kind of skip through this, but yeah, just take a look at the logos and you'll kind of see what we're talking about. So execution powerhouse, EY is doing it better, compared to a TCS, and then followed by ERM. In terms of innovation, IBM is leading the pack, followed by Capgemini, and then by Accenture, right? And by voice of the customer, as in how our customers, talking about the way that it is being done. Again, ERM, kind of tops it up, followed by a IBM and a EY, right? If you guys have some time, just go through LinkedIn, go to EY handle and see how they or Accenture or let's say a TCS or a Capgemini talks about sustainability and what new are they doing every day, right? To meet this. Yeah. Okay. So this is that ERM example that I gave to you about. It is not just theory. So it is not just, okay, reading through great things to listen to and forget it. No, it doesn't happen like that. This is the
Mehul,
way they measure. Yeah, go ahead.
Mehul, just sorry to interrupt, but the text is not visible, I think. Can you
No,
just
no.
zoom in?
I mean, there's a message here, so don't need to kind of zoom this, but I will
Okay,
give you the
okay,
message.
fine. All right,
So
fine.
ERM, that we spoke about, right? The way that I was talking, saying, hey, please plan your SLAs or KPIs. They'll say, okay, health and safety. Their employees on an average should not be away from work. For let's say more than 5 days a year. Example, right? There should be less than 1% of fatality or a mortality, as in a death rate, of their employees at work, right? So that's a very specific goal that they have. They measure this on a constant basis, which is monthly, 6 monthly, annual basis, and then they mark themselves saying, okay, I had set this goal for myself, I'm meeting it, I'm not meeting it, I'm partially meeting it, I haven't even started, right? That's just one example that I gave to you, right? Client satisfaction for whatever business you're operating in, right? If you say that, hey, my customer satisfaction score should increase by 15%, at least on a year basis, right? So if your customer score on an average is, let's say, 7 out of 10 today, are you actually doing this revision or a survey the same time next year? And can you say that 15% on 7 is typically about 15 sevens are what, about 102, so 1 point increase, right? Has your 7 become 8%, or 8 on a scale of 10 at the end of next year? That's what you need to measure on, right? uh, Okay, now what is the, and I'm sure every one of us at a ground level have a challenge, right? And this is from the Harvard Law School on the ESG study, and it's a very important point that I kind of want to make, right? 2 points that I spoke about at the starting of the conversation. Biggest barriers to a organization adoption of a ESG is the lack of a robust ESG data, right? And the concern about sacrificing returns. Whole goes back to the point that your data measurement approach to your business has to be very, very scientific, very, very robust, right? And you have to look at a ROI of everything that you do. Please don't do just for the sake of doing it. Everything should have a ROI parameter tied to it, right? What is the amount of investment I'm making? What is the return? If not in terms of absolute money returns, are you able to look at any other SLAs or KPIs, that are, that you can say, yeah, I've done good in, whatever I've set out for, right? Now, look at this right image, right? What is the greatest challenge when it comes to incorporating ESG data, research, ratings, etc.? People are talking about overcoming the lack of consistency in the ESG scores and the need to interpret data, right? So if I take the second of data and the first of data on the left graph, basically what are we saying? There has to be an end-to-end approach, to measure the way you're doing things today, which means function-wise, HR, legal, procurement, etc., or sales and marketing, you need to have one unified data layer, right? So put your own dashboards, or if you want to do a Power BI or a Tableau, or a Click View or a One View, these are some very good dashboards, right? Put those as you, scale your business, because if you don't measure what you're doing, you're just gone, right? So that's the message I kind of, wanted to share with you. Okay, one last point on this, yeah, and then I, hand it over for questions. What is the number one challenge when implementing any ESG or any new business for that matter? There's a lack of consistency between a rating provider scores, right? So for example, if you ask ESG, EY, or an Accenture, right, or a TCS, in terms of how do they measure EY, if you take a sample of 10 such companies, you're likely to get some disparate or varying patterns, right? So one single view of truth or one single way to do it is a big challenge, right? Data is definitely another challenge, which is again being highlighted when it comes to investing in a new business, right? And then what can, and again on the point that I made at the starting of my call, is what or how can you better this, right? It is talking about the first point on the right graph, which is standardizations of tools and data from different providers. So standardization of process, standardization in terms of the way you measure things, standard defined input output, what measures through, how are you, measuring it, how are you doing it, is, your standardization, right? And your consistent data sets, right? So for example, Amandeep, in your hotel business, I know you probably focused on one location, but let's say today you're operating in a Delhi NCR. Tomorrow you'll go to a Bangalore, right? Day after tomorrow you'll, go to a Kolkata. I mean, you know, your on the field guys or your employees, the way they give you data, cannot be different, right? So you will have to probably create a portal or an app, where everyone just keys in. Your job, should be slightly more strategic, right? So you will not have to do as a, let's say, a CEO or a founder, or even, let's say, whatever your designations, we call ourselves with. Your job is not to do, okay, it's a morning, call up 10 people, अरे इसका डेटा का क्या हुआ, उसका डेटा का क्या हुआ, can I get this, मेरे को कितना business हुआ, please tell me, how can I measure it, right? Your job is not to call, 10 different people, because once you scale your business, right, you will not be able to speak to everyone every day on ground and get things done, right? So that's the, message that I'm giving it to you. Okay, with this last point, before I kind of, hand it over to you, is please focus on technology and the way we do things, because there is no greater promise, than a sustainable business, which is a function of both economic and, being sustainable, to create a value at a scale. When everything, comes together, which is your economic ability of a business, the digital transformation, the sustainability of the it, is where you'll create good for yourself, your shareholders, your stakeholders, your customers, your employees, and everyone. And that is where, you're likely to succeed. Yeah. With that, I'll say thank you and, open for questions. Anything that you want to shoot. We have 5 minutes.
Hi, Mehul. This is Chandni here again.
Hi, Chandni.
I was
Go
just
ahead.
trying to understand, what is the weightage that investors give to sustainability? Because as an emotional intelligence coach, I understand the importance of sustainability. In fact, it's a very important part of the trainings that I do.
Hmm.
So I'm just trying to understand from a business perspective, what is the weightage that investors give it? I'm not sure if this is a question that needs to be addressed to you, but I'm just asking if you have an idea.
No, I can tell you, from whatever I have heard, right? If you guys, hear more about it, absolutely, I can stand corrected. But I think, if you're talking about an investor today, if you want to sell a business or ask someone to invest in your business, right? I think the robust business planning, your KRA, KPI, metric based, should account for about 80% of the problem. But 10 to 20% of weightage, to a ESG is going nowhere. That's there. That much is, something I can, talk with confidence to you in 100% weightage, right? If that answers your question.
Okay, that is important to understand from especially the kind of business I was looking at, because there's so much scope in that particular area.
And this is not a blanket number, right? So for
Absolutely.
example, in a hotel business or in, let's say, a greenhouse business, right? That the business in which you operate differs, right? So that 10 to 20 can also go to 30 to 50, right? Depends on the business on which you're operating in.
All right. Thank you, Mehul.
Okay.
So I just wanted to ask you two things. One, when you mentioned that if we are working on to greenhouse gas emissions reduction, we can register on something.
Yeah.
So that part, if you can send across, it will be very helpful, because as company, I am trying to mitigate greenhouse emissions from any of the uh, companies. So I'm working with PepsiCo, trying to mitigate their waste management CO2s. So all those are helping us. And I wanted to understand, when I am developing my product, I need to show that, or I am helping customers, I need to show that. That is my question.
To
As
whom?
a
The
company,
question is, to whom do you want to show and why do you want to show?
okay. So when I am showing it to investors, then they ask me, means like even when I am pitching to the customer, I show them that these are your sustainability goals and
Correct.
I am helping here,
Correct.
correct? So
Correct.
I give those pointers. When I am talking to the investors also, now I have to talk this, because especially the impact investors want to know these KPIs, that how much CO2 I will be reducing, what is my aim. Like I am working on green hydrogen at this point of time. And
Hmm.
as you mentioned, a lot, even Reliance is now wanted, not even methane, because I started working on methane, microbial consortia, which will be converting it to methane. But that will be outdated maybe in next 5 years
Correct.
because everybody is moving towards hydrogen.
Correct.
So as company I am, or as a startup, I am little confused onto this particular thing, and I really need a mentoring how to project this carbon thing, because there is a green bond, there are green investors, and there are a lot many things on wherein I can tap in as company, and I can help other companies to have a sustainable growth.
So I think no, very important question, Dr. Vanita, and I think so. And I'm talking about 2011 business model, right? Definitely, it's changed a lot, and I'm sure the way would have also changed. Go to the United Nations, federations on climate change, UNFCCC. You can just probably Google, go there. What we basically said is the amount of gases or the toxic so-called materials, right, are all converted to a CER, a carbon emission reduction, right? It's a CER, or a VER, which is a voluntary emission reduction, right? So for every 1,000 or millions of CERs, carbon emission reductions that you save, you get X dollars by the UNF triple C. And the way it works is like your fellowship program, right? You go to IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Kolkata, etc. You take a 3-4 year program of a PhD, right, or a 2 year program. uh, One thing is the opportunity cost, obviously not working, you need to do full time, but then the organization here or the institute gives you that funding, saying, okay, take 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 per month, and you focus on your fellowship or doctorship, right? So it's a similar model like that. The United Federations, will give you money, saying, okay, X millions of CERs or VERs saved, right, is equal to so many $1 million. You give me a plan for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Tell me what will you save at the end of the each year, right? And there is measurement, right? They will measure this on a quarterly, 6 monthly basis. If they're absolutely satisfied with your performance, you absolutely liable to get that money back, which you can put it back to a different business. So that's the way it works.
So I will like to connect with you and understand how I can use these KPIs for my startup to be projected while talking to investors.
Sure, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I
Uh,
think we're at the top of the hour. One
one
last.
small last
Yeah,
question
go.
I had was that if we can put this into the initial business plan, uh, you know, ESG as part of it, does that reflect?
It
You were
has
talking
to.
about something about moving. You could connect with the UN and get some kind of benefits or something from them.
Hmm.
So, what stage does that happen? Does that happen at an early stage, or they're looking at some years of it happening before,
Yeah,
or they look at the business plan?
yeah, very, very relevant question. I think from all that I've learned so far, Chandni, it is at least a couple of years, by the time you settle down in your business, you know what exactly you are doing, right? And year 3, 4, 5, 6, you have a very good projection of what you want to achieve, right? So my simple answer to your question is at least spend that, first 1.5, 2 years in your business, because you then know if you want to continue in this business or not, right? You yourself, will have a certain amount of surety. So 1 to 2 years you need to spend, then you make this business plan, because I'm sure in year 1, year 2, you will not be able to achieve these efficiencies because you yourself are figuring out how to do things. But the other bit of it is, whenever you want to pitch to your investors, get money from them, right? You show them the promise that, hey, I am 20 things I'm measuring in my business every year, but out of those 20, here are the 3, 4 things that I'm measuring from a green or a ESG or whatever name you call it, right? So that they know that you are a responsible business doer, right? A citizen and an investor yourself. I mean, if we don't invest in ourselves, no one will invest in us, right? It's as simple as that. So that's the promise you need to show.
I think
Thank
as startups, I have seen, like if we are doing only the um, service kind of thing, but if we are doing anything, most of the startups I was venturing in, when they are scaling it up, it becomes very difficult because they have not considered their air emissions, like you were talking, that what the manufacturing they are doing and how much is the greenhouse gas emission or the water generated, and how they will going to clean it, because these laws are becoming stringent and stringent. And when we have not, in our unit economics, we have not considered that as such, then
Yeah.
it will be a problem. Maybe we have not to show it for first 2 to 3 years.
But you need to start from day zero.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
need to have that at the background, Chandni. You
In
can't,
unit
just forget
economics, we
about
have
it.
to have there that column.
Correct. Correct. And say, okay, one fine day, okay,
So
I'm just waking up 2 years. Okay, now I'll start this. No, it can't happen. Have it at the back
correct.
of,
So
back of your mind. Yeah, go ahead.
we had Vinita, we were talking about unit economics, if you remember, in our last class. So when we talk about it today in our evening class, would this be a relevant point to include? Mehul, that question is for you.
It should definitely be, right? I mean, there's no second thought about it.
Yeah, Chandni, this is coming as a bigger opportunity because, as all of us know, and especially from the clean tech sector, I understand and I always pitch everybody that you just close and your eyes and think you don't have water for next 24 hours to drink. You have rest everything, all digital, all something, you app and everything, but you don't have a water to drink. That is the situation going to happen if this 1.5 and 2 degrees, what we are talking about, has to happen. So we all have to think in that way, and that's why the bigger companies are now putting a lot of efforts.
Chandni, simple example here. Talk about rainwater harvesting, right? I mean, you see so many, buildings, societies just coming up. I don't think more than 25% of societies, or whatever gated communities as you call it, will have more than a sustainable or a reasonably strong water investment plan, right? Water just comes, so much of rainfall just goes down the drain, right? I mean, why can't at least a 95% be mandated, and probably to 25-35% is a lower number, but I'm sure it doesn't go for more than 50-60%, right? I can vouch for it. I mean, if does that, 60%, if that comes to 90%, right? 90% of all housing societies, I mean, whatever damn thing they do, you need to conserve water, so that probably not our generation, but our kids, who are coming up, right, should never face a water scarcity, right? That's again a very crude example, but a very relevant example, right? What's going to happen in the future, the way the cities are growing, I don't think we will have water resources, right? The future is to go to tier 3, tier 4 towns, from your city, have a technology which gets water from there, and then pump it to our societies. That's number one option. Or the number two, or the last option, and I'm talking about 20 years down the line, right? Not 1-2 years down the line, is to bring, let's say, a sea or ocean water directly to your city, right? Or to your household, obviously with n number of factors playing in, and make that as a drinkable water. Singapore has 100% recyclable water, right? I mean, you go to your toilet, you flush it. I mean, you want to look at drinking water. I mean, there are cities today that don't have water. One single source of water you use for drinking, toilets, whatever you want to, washing, cooking, bathing, etc., right? That will happen. So that's another very crude example 20 years from now on, which is why the importance of a topic like this, right? I mean, you need to focus on it right away.
Thank you, Mehul. Thank you, Vinita.
Okay, I think I will stop at that. But yeah, absolutely will be happy to send me an email with a consolidated list of questions, and I'll try and get back to you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks
Mehul,
so much,
thank you.
everyone.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you so
Thank you,
much,
Mehul.
Mehul,
Thank you
for
so much.
taking
Thank you
the
so
time,
much.
and you
Thank you so much.
really gave, you really gave a very thorough and something full of details, too much full of details. And I think everyone has a lot of information that they can take from this session, and I'm sure they will apply in their ventures as well. And thank you for, giving them the access of connecting with you directly also. I
Yeah.
think that will be helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Thank
you all
you.
have my
Thank
Thank you,
email.
sir.
you.
I think I sent it to everyone, or take it from Harshita. You can
Yes,
send me a
yes.
one-on-one, and then we can catch up. I
I
mean, you all
have
have
already
mobile.
sent you a LinkedIn invite.
Okay, amazing.
I will
Look
get
forward.
connected with you, Mehul sir. Yeah, Aarti here.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, sir. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you, everyone.
So thanks everyone for your
Thank
time.
you.
Wishing you a great Friday ahead, a great weekend ahead, and we'll stay in touch. Thanks again.
You
Yes,
too.
definitely.
Get well
You
soon.
too, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye, sir.